All right, to start with, we have to first of all identify the most important critical functionalities of this app, because we're writing a test suite for smoke tests. And therefore, we have to first of all take a note of what are the most important features of this app. And for those only, we will be writing the smoke test cases. Apparently, this is a note-taking app, so a user should be able to take a note. In other words, create a new note. And that is very important. And the user also should be able to delete an existing note. And that is second very important test case. And third of all, I would say a created note should be visible for the user. So these are some of the critical features. And if this was a project that you would be working in a real life, you would have to talk to the developers. You would have to talk to the product owner, the business team, and understand more about this product. Obviously, this is a very simple app, but in reality, you will not be working on such a simple app. In your case, it will be much more larger. And don't worry, in your future lessons, we will be working on a larger scale applications. And at that time, we'll be diving deep into the different aspects of an application. But to get there, we have to start simple. So first of all, let's play around with this app. Let me create some notes. Let's say, clean the bedroom, and some descriptions here that we need to write. Okay, and how this note can be created? Apparently, we can click this plus icon to create that. Once we do that, and that's created here. And we can create another one, another task, and here some descriptions. And another thing that I would like to test is, can this be created if I press enter? Or do we have to click on this plus icon? So let me try using my enter key. Yep, it didn't work. Seems like we have to click on this plus icon. All right, that second task is also created. Okay, that we could do. And how about deleting it? Yep, I can click the trash icon to delete that. Oh, that worked. All right, how about the created tasks? Well, obviously, they are listed on the board here, on the whiteboard. Okay, so these are like 2 or 3 most crucial features that I was able to identify. And we don't want to go further than this because this is a smoke test. Therefore, we have to stay focused on the most critical features. Now we can create a spreadsheet using our Google account because Google provides spreadsheets and Google Docs for free. Here, I created my spreadsheet. For the first row, it will be our column names, as you know. I'm going to start with test case ID. Then this will be test scenario. And this will be test steps. And this will be prerequisites. And this will be test data. The next one, expected result. Next one, actual result. Next one, test status. As you can see, this is too small. So we could style it a little bit. Here, I'm going to increase the font size to 14 maybe. Then I will choose all of them and double click these lines so that it will format it a little bit. Okay. Or you could manually expand it so it looks much nicer. I also want to apply some background just to make it a little look nicer. Here, the background, fill it with probably some sky blue, a little lighter color. And then make the row a little taller. Yep. And then I think I can make it center aligned. And it will be exactly in the middle. Cool. This looks much nicer, right? To start with, another critical, I think this is one most important feature just came to my mind, which is the loading of the application itself. I'll show you what I mean. If you go back to the application, here, look at the loading of the app itself. When you first go to cyramnote.netlify.app, this app needs to load. It needs to successfully load so that users can start using it, right? So our first and foremost smoke test case could be app should load successfully. All right, let's write it down. First, I would say my TC ID1, test case ID1, test scenario. For the test scenario, you could write the name of your test case. For example, app loads successfully. All right, you don't have to make it long. For example, user should be able to see that the app loads successfully or verify that the app loads successfully. Yeah, I mean, if you want to make it more descriptive, more explanatory, it doesn't hurt. But for the sake of simplicity, we want to make it as short as possible and as descriptive as possible. All right, app loads successfully. What is the test steps for this? Number one test step, given user goes to cyram node.netlify.app. That is the URL of the app. All right, and then we could double click this column lines just so that it will align the rows properly. Cool. Then in the prerequisites, you could say user has access to the app homepage or something like this. I'm not expecting you to write something exactly like the way I'm doing, but very similar to this. For example, here, the Gherkin language style, we'll be learning more about that. I don't want you to do something besides this. Follow me when it comes to the given, when, then type of style. But other than that, for example, the prerequisites or test data, you could play around with your words a little. For the test data, there's nothing to enter, but one thing would be the URL itself. So, I mean, why not? We could use the URL as for the test data. Expected result is app should be loading properly, or app should load properly or successfully. That is up to you how you want to word it. The actual result is as expected. Test status would be pass. All right, so we are done with our first test case. Now go to our note taker app. We can refresh this app one more time, or we can open a new tab, then go to this URL, and it should load successfully. This is the first test case, and it seems to be passing. So that's why I wrote it pass over here. Then the second test case, TC_2, would be, let's go back. I think for the second test case, I would like to do the one for creating a new task item. For example, here I will say my item, or give it a proper name. Wash the dishes. Here, wash the last night dinner dishes ASAP. Then create this. All right, this is the test case. Cool. Now we go back, and here. The name of the test case is, how do you want to name it? Do you want to go with full explanation of it or make it shorter? For example, I can go like create a new note. That could be the name of the test scenario. Test steps. First, given user is on home page or on the main page, something like this. For the second step, I'll say and enter a note title and enter a note body. When click on the plus icon, then a new note is created. These could be my test steps. Prerequisite is user is on the task creating page or on the home page or on the main page, you name it. The test data. Okay. What data do we need? We need two pieces of data. One for the title, another one for the note itself, the description of the note. So I can give something like this. Title, wash dishes. The tester who would be executing these test cases might probably need to change the data that they use because it's not really required to put it exactly as wash dishes. Here, body would be wash all the dishes now, something like that. Alrighty, now let's double click this line over here so that it will align it properly. Expected result. Expected result is a new note item should be created and listed on the home page itself. All right, then actual result is as expected. Did it pass? Yep, it passed. It worked. So I will simply call it pass. Cool. Now I want you to pause the video and write another test case for the delete function. Pause it now and follow the same style. Write another scenario for the delete functionality. All right, let's do it together. Before I want us to move to the third test case, I think I noticed a little mistake in our wording. If you read the expected result for our second test case, we said that a new note item should be created. Instead, how about we call it a new note item card? Because this is actually a card. Technically, we also call it a card or component. So I think it would be much better naming if we add the word card right after the item itself. So we read it as a new note item card should be created. All right, moving on to the third test case. It's about deleting an item card. First of all, we need to create an item in order to test this trashing or the deleting functionality. For that, let's write down our test case 3. Test scenario would be delete an item card. Or you could say delete a note. I think delete a note sounds much better. Test steps. First test step would be given user is on main page and enter a note title and enter a note body. Well, we've already covered the steps of how to create a new note. So we don't need to repeat the same thing here just to test how to delete. Instead, I can shorten it and say, given there is an existing note item card, and click on the trash icon. Then the item card should be deleted. There we go. All right, let's read it. Given there is an existing note item card, and click on the trash icon, then the item card should be deleted. Cool. Prerequisite. What's the prerequisite? There should be an item card. Test data. There is no test data. Expected result. Item card should be deleted from the page. Actual result is as expected, and test status is pass because it is passing, it works. All right, let's go ahead and execute the test case. Well, as you can see, there is an existing item card here. But what if we do not have one? Like if you refresh the page, it goes back to the default state. So how would you execute the first step then? Because in the first step, it says there should be, or there is an existing note item card. But here, there is nothing. It's actually simple. Simply execute your test case 2. Follow these steps to create a new item card. Then you can actually officially execute the third test case. Because the third test case requires an item to be there. So obviously, before you even try to execute the third test case, make sure you create an item here. Let's create one. Test title, test description. All right, create one. All right, that's created. All right, now the first given step, the first condition is met. The second one is click on the trash icon. All right, let me create that. And then the third, it says the item card should be deleted. All right, it seems to be deleted. Cool. So it's passed. Great job, guys. In our next lesson, we will be writing some regression tests. So get ready for that.